welcome everyone to the Gibberish Discussions podcast. My name is Josh, and today we are joined by our two Gibberish members. We got John here today, and we got Matt. So, what we're going to do
Hello.
today is we have a lot to talk about because we are quarantined and we kept looking up stuff. A lot has happened since we last talked, especially in the Disney world because, Disney controls everything and they will soon control the government. So, with all that, we're going to be talking about all the Star Wars TV rumors and our thoughts on how Disney is taking the Star Wars franchise in general. We'll then lead it into some Agent Venom, a Disney Plus TV show, which we are all very excited about, I think. The Witcher prequel series, which has been confirmed, and the Mulan being moved to Disney Plus for $30 to rent. So, let's start with the Star Wars TV rumors. Basically, we have a lot of Star Wars TV rumors floating around, from Boba Fett, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan Kenobi, which has been confirmed, the Lando TV series, and Solo 2. That's just 5 out of, a lot. And Star Wars has kind of just been, it's been, one of those topics lately. I think the mutual thing everyone's pretty excited about is The Mandalorian coming out in October. Uh, and so with all this, my main question is, out of all of these, a Darth Maul TV show, an Obi-Wan TV show, a Lando Calrissian TV show, a Boba Fett TV show, or a Solo 2 movie, which one would you guys like the most, or would you not like any of these? Let's start with Matt.
The one that I've always been on, just because I'm a huge fan of what happened, will always be the Obi-Wan TV show. Considering that it was one of the first ones to really talk about, get in production hell, then come right back around. I think the Obi-Wan TV show would be the best one to stick with, simply because it's the longest outside of the that are coming around.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I think most of the other ones, outside of Solo 2, there's really nothing else that we really need. Those characters already got their comic book stuff, and we don't really need a show to explain Lando or Maul, unless they want to go into the whole Underworld storyline.
Which, does that really deserve its own TV show when it could just be another book or something?
Not really. It could be a good comic book line, maybe a motion comic if they really want to make a movie out of it, but it doesn't need a movie or a TV show, really. That's about the only thing that's interesting about them after Phantom Menace.
Yeah. What about you, John?
I'm kind of on Matt's side with this. The only one that really interests me is the Obi-Wan series. I want to see what happened in between episodes 3 and 4. So, I mean, we've got plenty of Maul and Clone Wars. I mean, he's got a whole story arc, and we know the majority of it. Yeah, there's space we can fill in between what happened after episode 3 and when he perished in Rebels. Spoilers, even though that's kind of old news. But I just feel like there's much more. The exploration of Obi-Wan during that time period would be far more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even actually cover Maul in that time period too, because you see Luke as a child in the background after he kills Maul, so you can do both at the same time.
So, yeah, I pretty much agree with both of you. Obi-Wan, which is the only really confirmed one, is the only one I really care about. I mean, Solo 2 would be cool, but I'm kind of just ready for something new. We've, all of Star Wars has been, at least movie-wise, has been in the, the Skywalker saga era, and I'm kind of ready to try something new. You guys know me. Old Republic is my area that I want to explore. But I mean, hey. So is it with these TV shows? Is it mainly the fact, the storyline that they're placed in that makes you guys not as willing to want them, or is it maybe the fact that it's a TV show and you prefer a movie, or vice versa? What do you guys think? Anyone can answer.
I think for the most part, it's just that like most of these characters have already we've already covered so much ground with them. There's not that much more
Hmm.
to explore. So like doing the character piece series is what's the problem is. You need to go to different eras. So like
Yeah.
Old Republic, like you said, New Republic, um, and maybe even covering another like a series within the Skywalker saga timeline, but covering a planet or a group of people we've never been to. Like, how does the Empire work on the ground for people who aren't part of the rebellion?
Hmm.
But so
Kind of
there's
like
several things you
the
can
Chisk
do, but
Empire.
following the characters we've already explored. Hmm.
I said something like the Chisk Empire or something like that.
Sure, but like there's something that we haven't already had a healthy level of exploration of already. We've already seen tons of Maul throughout Clone Wars. We've seen a good amount of Lando, and he wasn't that really like that high priority of a character. Anyways, he was fun and people liked him, but like I'm not sure how much more depth you could go into with
Hmm.
him. Even though Donald was great with the character in the first Solo movie.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, aside from the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which is again the interesting thing about that is that character during that period of time, which we don't have much exploration of. It's the character plus the period of time that he's set in that
Hmm.
provides the interest. So I don't think if it was set like mid Clone Wars, I don't think it'd be as interesting. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where they need to move ground. They need to go somewhere else and explore something we haven't already seen.
I
That's my 2 cents.
I would agree in that notion. We've had too much of Skywalker Saga. We've had these other characters be major plot points, antagonists, or vice versa on that. Lando, well, actually, we don't even need Lando because Lando's mysteries are actually what makes him a good character. But stuff like Boba Fett, he's not really much of a character. We consider he's just a bounty hunter with almost no story except for the few comic storylines. He's a majority in Obi-Wan, uh, Solo. Those ones could still be very solid things, especially with Kenobi having a long time range. But every other series, it just feels like they're reaching for straws and doesn't feel like looking at overall picture. They're just trying to make money off of it. Unlike the Mandalorian, which was the first original series based without the Skywalkers, it was the biggest hit they've ever had in a small format next to Clone Wars.
Hmm. Yeah, and that kind of leads to my next question. Do you guys think they're too scared to move away from the Skywalker saga? I mean, we've seen the High Republic announcement, but like they haven't really moved to do anything like, in the movie franchise out of that. Do you think they're just too scared, or you think they're like, we're still making money, so
I think they're too scared. I'll just say it. Disney's not much to gamble, and when they do, they need to make sure that it's a small cost. But with Star Wars, there is no such thing as a small cost. Even if it's a small screen media, they can still lose a lot of money off of it if it's bad. And that's why I think they're just too afraid to go past Skywalker Saga and want to really pinch that penny out of it until it's just a drained up piggy bank.
but isn't that like what made Mandalorian so good? Is that it was kind of a risk. The first live action TV show, a character we have never seen in a time setting we have never seen. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the Mandalorian was a risk that paid off, right?
Yes, but that was because they had a good helm. If these other things were to get good helms, sure, they'd be good shows, but I still feel like they think the fan base wants more of what we've had in the past. And on the one hand, sure, but I still think they have a small fear of risk, even if Mando was a critical success. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean that all things will be critical successes.
Oh yeah. Which I think Mando's biggest influence has been. Have you noticed that all the like rumors are TV shows? not movies. Like all these rumors are coming out, except for Solo too. Like I feel like they're just really aimed
Yeah.
for that TV show market. John, what do you think? Do you think they're too scared?
Well, I honestly have no idea what they're doing because I know, at least from movie wise, they had said after episode 9 they were going to move away from the Skywalker saga, that whole story. And one of the main places they pointed to in the rumor was like Old Republic. So the fact that like all these series that we're hearing about are all rumors and the same timeline of the Skywalker saga we've already covered has been surprising to me. I don't know why they have. I don't know. It sounds like they don't know what they want to do. Like there's
Hmm.
messaging amongst the whole company. So
Yeah.
I I I, I mean I would assume elements of them have to be scared, but for an announcement like Old Republic to be made for the movies and no longer doing the Skywalker saga, for that to be a public thing, there has to be some of the people who are ready to move on, some people who aren't. That'd be my best guess. It's kind
Hmm.
of like a mixed bag at the studio.
And don't forget, we did get a new CEO after Bob Iger left, which left right as that Skywalker saga ended. Bob Iger was the one who said they're moving away from the Skywalker saga, and now we got about Chapek. So that is one thing.
Gotcha.
I do think, by the way, when they said that announcement, I think they were, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think they were saying that for movies. I think they had said they were planning to do
Yeah,
like
that's what I said.
yeah. So we don't have any movie titles rumored or anything. We know that Taika Waititi has a film for 2024. Um, but that is the only confirmed one right now, and we are not. They said they are writing it, but we don't know what for. Um, so I kind of feel like all these TV shows are kind of just like, well, until the next movie, here's Obi-Wan. Until the next movie, here's Darth Maul. Mandalorian season 2. And I don't know. Is it just me or is it feeling a little like just trying to they're not sure what the fans want, so they're just trying to cash in on what they know fans like, which is characters. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean they're throwing out the biggest names that they have right now that haven't had a film franchise to them, or at the very least a overline thing in live action media. I mean, Boba Fett had what 10 lines and so little screen time in both of his appearances that basically that doesn't amount to nothing. But he's still a beloved character for having nothing to say but 10 lines. And then
Mm-hmm.
Maul is in the same boat, but Maul had so much more experience considering he had an animated format to help flesh him tone out. I mean, with all the names that are rumored, it just feels like they're picking at fan favorites from polls versus interesting concepts that could be pushed out. Granted, I do think that we could easily receive some interesting plots from either of them. It's just a matter of who helms it and if they're willing to take the gamble on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like Disney is so scared of like of like or so scared of like trying to please the fans they aren't willing to do anything interesting. And there's that healthy balance in between where you need to have somebody who actually understands the series enough to do it justice, but also creative enough to take take the risk you need to take to make an interesting story. Like with Marvel, like not everything is true to the comics in the MCU, but
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Feige is widely beloved by nerddom in general and by fans of the Marvel comics because he's a fan of the Marvel comics. He's been reading them since he grew up. He knows his stuff. And B, he's willing to change things where they need to change in order to serve the movie universe. And
Mm-hmm.
he's done a great job at that. And they didn't have that, and they still don't with Marvel. They don't have that one leading vision who can direct the overall interesting thing, who knows his or her stuff about the universe and can build off from there. They don't have that person or those people to go to who they just have like like regular studio filmmakers and studio executives who know this is profitable but don't have a good sense at all of why.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's where a lot of people are asking for like Dave Filoni and John Favreau, who are like Kevin Feige's in the Star
yeah.
Wars world, uh, and the reason why I am so happy and I still have all faith in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is the director who she directed the fourth episode of The Mandalorian. She's worked with John Favreau and she did a great job on that episode. And so I think what you just said, John, is a really good point that we just have to be really we just need good people running the show. We don't need executives trying to decide like it's like a robot trying to decide a game is fun by having all these mechanics, but the robot it doesn't gonna know what's fun, and so that's how I kind of feel. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much all I have for the Star Wars stuff. You got anything you guys want to talk about or add on with that?
No, I think that covers.
So yeah, screw screw Lando series and give me Keanu Reeves as Darth Revan. That's my final take. All right. So moving on, we got the Agent Venom Disney Plus show. This is one I am was surprised to see. I will admit that. Like I did not expect a Sony related Disney Plus show. At least not this soon. But I know at least one of us is very excited about it. And so I'm going to read you guys the leak that was put out on Twitter. It says, and I'm quoting, Agent Venom Disney Plus show at early stages of development. Sony wants Tom Hardy as anti Venom and the main antagonist of the series. Unquote. So, what do y'all think? Let's start with Matt.
So from that quote, they want Anti-Venom to be the bad guy for Venom.
For Agent Venom.
Am I getting that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what the quote reads.
So I think that's an interesting idea because it definitely goes against what the comics meant for Agent Venom. But in their own right, that's actually kind of a neat concept considering that Agent Anti-Venom is such a not necessarily dangerous character because he is still a good guy by his own default.
Mm-hmm.
But he's such a threat to most symbiotes that would be a good idea to that'd be a good opponent to face since it's an overwhelming challenge for even just Eddie Brock with another symbiote on.
Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't.
Well, granted, he is anti-venom.
Doesn't anti venom not act? Doesn't the anti venom symbiote not have like a mind? Isn't it completely controlled by the
Cor-
wearer?
correct. Anti-venom is not sentient like doesn't have his own conscience like the Venom or Carnage symbiotes do.
Mm-hmm.
Anti-venom is 100% made from Eddie's antibodies that were affected by Venom, and so he made his own reverse suit, which could technically speaking destroy other symbiotes or empower the symbiotes if used correctly against certain enemies. I think it's a cool concept. Just really how they're going to do anti-venom will be the question, since just a small handful of casts that they could play at, and if they're trying to make it in universe,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't think Flash Thompson would work.
Yeah, and I was also kind of curious because how do you make Tom Hardy anti venom and then have age? So like this is the question because I'm not totally diverse in the Agent Venom lore and all that. Is Agent Venom the Venom
Never
symbiote?
mind.
Yes, Agent Venom is technically the third wearer of the symbiote, or fourth one wearer,
So how is
because
Tom
there was
Hardy
Peter.
anti Venom and Agent Venom is someone different?
So in the comic, why the symbiote breaks apart from Eddie, and that finds a host on a legless Flash Thompson post-war.
Mm-hmm.
He helps Hardy, not Hardy. He helps Thompson go through his ups and downs, but technically Eddie and the symbiote had split that time, so the connection to the symbiote would still be there, but it was weaker, so that way Flash Thompson could get a hold of the suit.
Hmm.
That's at least my remembrance of that. They comics have changed some stuff, but that's generally what happened. Was Eddie and the symbiote broke apart for like the second time, goes to Flash, and then for a long run it's Agent Venom. Then it goes back to Eddie after he uh, gets rid of the anti Venom suit.
I, I I just think
So
this would be so cool. Like from what you're describing, this would be pretty badass.
yeah, because it's 100% Venom, but he has a reverse color suit and he's in control, unlike the normal scenario. So
Hmm.
he's 100% anti-hero badass while still retaining control and not having to fight himself.
What do you think, John? What's your take on the whole Agent Venom spiel?
Well, I'm like you. I don't really know much about Agent Venom. The most I know is from the comics is it first landed on Peter Parker and then it went to Eddie Brock. And beyond that, like my knowledge of the Venom symbiote or any of the other symbiotes is pretty limited.
Hmm.
I know Carnage is like Venom's like child or something, but that's about it. As far as the show goes, like from what Matt described, it sounds interesting. Doubt, like I'm one of those people who doubts the rumor a lot though, because I don't is they're definitely going to want a piece of this. They're not going to want it to be on Disney Plus forever. I highly doubt it.
Hmm.
Like they're going to, and Disney is definitely going to want it on Disney Plus forever because that's one of the selling points of Disney Plus. All the Disney movies on Disney Plus for basically all time.
Hmm.
So it'd be a very. I don't see them coming to a agreement that both parties would be satisfied with as far as a TV show on Disney Plus.
Well, that does
I'd
lead
be very
into the
shocked if they
next
resolve something
question, which
that big.
is, I mean, that does lead into the next question. How does this work with the Sony and Disney arrangement? We don't really know the full extent of it. We just know that Spider-Man's going to be in two more movies, his own solo, and his one mutual like MCU movie. But we do know that he is going to be in the Venom Morbius verse kind of thing that's going on, and we do know that Morbius is
Yeah.
tied in with Spider-Man, because we do see the Vulture from Spider-Man: Homecoming and Morbius trailer. So we see a whole lot of crossover happening. We see a lot of manipulation between both parties going on. Um, and if this was a TV show that went on Disney Plus, that means it would be MCU canon. So like that would be pretty big for Sony, who's trying to start their own universe and all that. Um, so and like all rumors, guys, take this with a grain of salt, as always. But I think this is a really interesting rumor, and I think it has a lot of potential to be something really cool. Um, so Matt, what do you think about this? Do you think it's what do you think with the Sony and Disney arrangement? Because we know so little about the actual agreement itself, right?
Yeah, no, there's enough of legality that they can put out, but there isn't a lot of informative legalities that we can hit. So they've literally put us at just enough knowledge with who really knows how much more we are gonna they would actually say.
Mm-hmm.
But on that own stand, I think if they were smart about it and they're trying to make their own Sonyverse, instead of using the MCU stuff, except for Spider-Man, like keeping Tom Holland,
Mm-hmm.
make a new Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
How do you make a good deal on both sides while still not interrupting agreement? You make a multiverse. You say because Venom isn't directly tied to Peter Parker at the moment, why not have Flash Thompson? But he is that either bully or war hero, or just someone that fits the bill a little more than the wordy bully.
Yeah.
But I think it's a cool idea, but that's up to the agreement if it's within their stationary talks that they could actually do it, or if it's simply a matter of, oh, we're just going to give out this rumor and see how it's received.
True. I mean, they could just be testing the grounds and all that.
Hmm.
And that was one of my questions: is how did they make Flash Thompson Agent Venom? Do they get so my whole thing was these are kind of like what I was thinking. A, they get the actual Flash Thompson from Homecoming to do it, which I'm not a fan of. B, they make a multiverse Flash Thompson. But I think that would be pretty hard because from what we know, I could just from the trailer, Venom and Morbius verse is kind of already linked to the MCU, so I don't know if it's actually a multiverse. We don't know, but I mean, that's my thought. Or three, they get a different person to play Agent Venom. So out of all three of those, which one do you guys like more?
I honestly like the third option to tie it not to canon, to comic canon, but still give it that fresh take.
Mm-hmm.
They could do another user of the symbiote because there's 5 Venom symbiote holders of the actual Venom symbiote, not just his multiple children or alien race.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of space to play with if they really wanted to on that. But it's a matter of if they want to do it, because that's a lot of water testing, and some comic book fans might like it, I'd be okay with it just because it makes sense canonically, and they can also still tie in the Spider-Verse, the MCU Spider-Man verse, into the main line Morbius verse for all intents and purposes.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Matt. I think the third option is probably best. I don't necessarily hate this current version of Flash Thompson, but I don't think he'd make a good uh, superhero. I don't necessarily want to see more of him. I don't mind him, but I don't want to see him become like this huge lead in a TV show. So like I say have a different character who in the comics has taken on the symbiote and have one of them take on the mantle of Agent Venom.
Mm-hmm. I think, like you guys said, three or two is probably the most viable options. Three is probably the easiest. Um, unless like I just don't see how they. I feel like they actually could have set this up pretty well if Flash Thompson wasn't blipped in the end game, because then he could be older. You know, like then he could be older and have gone to the army. Like that was an opportunity to set that up. I mean, obviously though, it would have messed it up for the future. But yeah, that's kind of I don't know. I really want this to be true, but there are some holes that need to be filled if with all that. So based on that, if this is true and Agent Venom does become a thing, how do you guys see this affecting the next Spider-Man movie, Venom 2, possibly Venom 3, and other appearances in the MCU? If we got Agent Venom going on a Disney Plus show for the MCU, does that mean we could see Morbius making appearances in an Endgame and next Avenger movies or something crazy like that? Let's start with John on this one.
Well, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know the exact timeline, but I would be surprised if this show came out before Spider-Man 3 did. But even so, like it's hard to really know because like I don't see Sony wanting to integrate their main characters into the MCU universe
Really?
all that much, or vice versa. Or no, actually, maybe it's more. I don't see maybe wanting the Sony character because I don't think Kevin Feige much liked Venom or the way they did Venom. I think Kevin Feige is trying to do as little bit as possible with Sony because he doesn't like the direction they're taking. Uh, just the way they've handled. I mean, Venom was better than I expected it to be, but I had a very low bar for what I was expecting. So that doesn't really say much. It was perfectly okay. It was all right, but it wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
And there hasn't been anything else. The Morbius trailer looked interesting, but it's been delayed due to Corona. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to say what's going to happen because I don't the relationship between Sony and Disney has been very contentions. They almost fell apart,
Mhm.
and Tom Holland just barely got them to kiss and make up long enough to do a couple more movies. And
Mhm.
I don't see themselves wanting to continue after that. So
Okay. What you think, Matt?
it
I I actually think it wouldn't have too much of an impact if I look at it. If you look at the timeline setup, if they actually have a solid timeline to involve everything, then there shouldn't be a crazy amount of work to do. They can say it takes place in San Francisco, like the Venom movie did. That way, there's no NYC problems. Then, if there's any neat, tidy cleanup, they can actually play off a lot of the stuff like Morbius. He's doing his own thing while Venom's going on.
Mhm.
Then we can have Agent Venom happen after Venom and Morbius. Then it just has a either hero or ally, and yeah, there's a lot of possibility, but I don't think there's a hard mess on it. I think it's more of a they're gonna have to figure out how to establish them if everything comes out to fruition. Because then it can still stand its own ground, but they'd have to be smart about it without trying to play the Marvel's input slot of timeline hoopla that they've already had.
Mhm. So, I think it's a little bit of both of what you guys are saying. I think I'm like actually really between. I think it's gonna have a bigger impact than what Matt's saying, but I do think it's not gonna have any huge consequences to Sony. So I do think that Sony likes doing. I think they do want to do their spin-off films. Because like not just Morbius, but like I think there's a rumor of Craven the Hunter and to have his own movie. Madam Web and Spider Gwen, I think, is also a rumor too. So I think Sony is excited to do their own thing with their spin-offs. But I do think, and I don't know if Sony. I don't talk with Sony. We don't talk often, all right. But I would assume if I was Sony to, and you guys let me know if you disagree with this, to want to get into the MCU. That's like free advertising for your little universe. From my thoughts on that, because I think them integrating small little bits and pieces would be pretty cool. I don't want them to have like a full I don't want like Sony's universe to really hit the MCU a lot. I kind of like the idea of having like Sony's universe with spin-off characters, you know? Like the fact that we're getting a Morbius movie is so shocking to
has its
me.
own little pocket.
Yeah, like I like that. I like having I don't need everything to be in its own extended universe, you know? I don't need everything to be attached to the longest TV show of all time kind of thing. So, to me, that's my thought on it. Welcome everyone to the Gibberish Discussions podcast, part 2 of the episode series. Uh, we had some internet troubles, and so this was put in. So voila, we are continuing our discussion, and we're gonna pick off with Mulan, following the Avatar: Last Airbender directors leaving the project, and the Moon Knight casting rumors that make some people cringe. So we are going to start it right off with the one and only Mulan. Mulan is the most recent Disney uh, live action money gobbler. Live action remake. And so what they're doing is because of everything that happened in March, they postponed it and now are releasing it on Disney Plus for $30. For $30,
Tardy
plus
smackaroos.
plus your extra subscription, you will have to pay $30 and you will be able to own Mulan and watch it when it releases. So let's just start with the most obvious question: is this too expensive? Let's start with Matt.
Yes, but only because unless somebody has 4K, why charge the 4K price? 25 would have been fine, and I feel like then you could have gotten the crowd of Blu-ray or 4K. But I think $30 is a lot of money unless you've got more than one person considerably helping out on that,
Hmm.
because then it's $30 for one person to watch maybe once or twice, and then probably never touch again, which is somewhat disappointing when you think about how much they're banking on this movie to be a success.
Hmm. I mean, they when I looked it up, the cost of Mulan, they spent 200 million on it. So that that's a lot. So I'm not even sure if they can make their money back with this. It'll be very interesting at the least. What do you think, John?
Well, I think thing to keep note of is that this is a more of an unlock. It's not a rental, so that's what a lot of people originally thought when they first heard the news. There's a $30 rental, which is what
Hmm.
I thought. It ticked me off, but it was basically an unlock. So those who are subscribed to Disney Plus, there's a subscription fee, and then pay $30, and basically you have it for the rest of the time you have your subscription.
Hmm.
So especially like families have like little kids who like to watch movies over and over again.
Hmm.
If Mulan is anything like the cartoon version, which was one of those movies that a lot of kids watched over and over and over again, I can
Hmm.
see it being worth it. And yeah, not everybody has 4K. Most people don't. It's still a relatively new technology, and it's on the higher price end as well. But I still think that families of like more than four could easily find this valuable and reasonable price.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. I think one thing that is kind of going, and you guys let me know about this. I was thinking, it also has kind of like, I wonder how long they were gonna do this. Like, how long is this gonna be $30 until you can just watch on Disney Plus normally? Like, what do you guys think? How long does it averagely take? Like, what, 6 months, 4 months? I'm just asking. Like, I
Three to
don't.
four, 3 to 4 months is my guess, because
yeah,
Onward came out in theaters, and then as soon as it left, about 2 months after it came out in theaters, about 2 or 3 months after theaters, it was automatically on Disney Plus for free.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to guess, it would be 3 to 4 months, and then everybody can all access it.
Yeah. I think it's really an interesting kind of thing because I feel like Disney is utilizing the fact that everyone is bored right now and now new movies are coming out to ramp up this price. Uh, but like I'm also just kind of curious, like, was anyone like, I know that a lot of people were kind of like excited for like proper Asian representation and all that in this film and things like that, and how they thought this remake might be different. But besides that, was anyone really like, oh, I can't wait to watch Mulan March 27th? And then was anyone crying when they kind of ended? Like, so I feel like they're kind of overstepping their hand a little bit. Do you guys think they're overplaying it a little bit, trying to just utilize the pandemic? What do you think, John?
maybe. I mean, I know I was one of the people who was planning on seeing it. Maybe not the day it came out, but like
Mhm.
definitely see it in theaters. It was on my watch list, and
Mhm.
it still is. I'm not sure whether I'm going to pay the whole $30 for like just myself. But I mean, I definitely want to see it when it comes out, and I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to price these movies because because like if you put it for a fair price for a rental like me, that's like $7. But then how do you like do a different scale for like different um um size families? Like, do you try and like ask your users the data and break it off by scale? I mean, there's no real easy way to implement that. So they kind of have to set a price that works for single people who live by themselves, such as myself, and people who are like five, like a whole family. So
Mhm.
I think the price is reasonable accounting for all of that. $20 would probably been better, or 25, but 30 is not insane or anything.
Matt.
Uh, kind of, but there's a big enough following behind the Disney live action remake stuff that I don't think it's overstepping. I just think they're utilizing just their own platform. It is smart, but it is a slight overstep when you think about how this could affect future movies where they might not see them in theaters anymore. They might say $30 at home, it unlocks it or rents it. I don't know. I don't think it's overstepping, but it's definitely not in a very good spot, if you ask me.
Hmm. So speaking of that, how do you think this will affect films in the future? Do you think like I think when the theaters do open, most will go back to normal. But like I think they would need like so much more money. Like uh, they would have to go way above and beyond with like the pay, like the gain sales on this. I feel like for it to be worth it to just start skipping theaters. So like, do you guys think that like if this does well, we'll see other pre-made movies like Black Widow join Disney Plus during this until the theaters open?
Well, I think Kevin Feige has specifically said this is a one-off. Now you can say that now and go back on it later, but as far as what I'm not Kevin Feige, the CEO, whomever
Bob
that
Chapek,
is,
yeah.
Bob Chapek, yeah, he has said this is a one-off,
Mhm.
for at the very least for the time being. So I mean that's all we can really go off officially right now. But I think streaming is going to change is going to change the industry no matter what. I mean, even if you look at the model they were doing pre-COVID, where Onward coming out like right after theaters, if they kept on that path, people would be like, "Well, I want to see this movie, but why not just wait 3 months and use a subscription I already have?" And theater sales would decline anyways, which would make the streaming model even more profitable to just go straight to that. So I think we are moving more and more in that direction where theaters are only going to be for like the big tentpole movies, and other like smaller scale movies or indie films will probably go straight to streaming, which is unfortunate in some ways because you'll miss out on the cinematic experience of seeing it on a big silver screen. But I think that's the route we're going with technology.
Do you think that?
So
But do you think that this is like a test for other films to be released onto Disney Plus while the theaters are shut down?
especially like smaller scale ones where they won't have much of a they didn't spend so much, so they won't lose so much if it bombs
So to a
or
point,
doesn't
you're
draw
saying.
users. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. What do you think, Matt?
I'm on that train of thought there. I think it's a test market, kind of like Artemis Fowl.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody expected that movie to be good. I sure as hell didn't. But I feel like it's a good way, it's a good ground to say, oh, we spent $500 million. That's pocket change to a normal movie on their part.
Mhm.
So they can just say, all right, we're just going to throw it into the wild area. If it gets well received, then success. If it doesn't, then, well, we only spent so much money. We can make that back on the next movie.
Mhm. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I think this is like a testing thing. Like I do think for them to release Black Widow, this would do incredibly well. Like incredible for them to even think about because Black Widow cost them a
I'd
good amount
definitely
of
pay the
money.
30 for Black Widow.
Say that again.
I'd definitely pay the 30 for Black Widow.
Oh really? And why is that?
Yeah.
What makes Mulan not it
I, I,
and Black Widow for you?
I've seen every MCU movie so far. I'm a huge fan of the movie universe, so I want to see that part of the story.
Mhm.
I want to be one of the first people to see it too. So
And
especially so I don't like accidentally catch any spoilers on Reddit or Twitter or
yeah.
wherever else
And
spoilers may
I
be.
do think it's actually interesting because if Mulan does do very well, Black Widow is a much more popular movie. It would be the second MCU movie to feature a female lead, and it costs between 150 and 200 million to make. So like it's around the same budget cost to have made this film. So
Yeah,
like it is not out of suggestion saying that if this does incredibly well, that would too. Um, but if what are you guys' overall thoughts about this? Like, I don't really have much to say about this, much that like except for like the too much money and the, like future movies that can be involved. So, what do you guys think? You guys have any questions?
Not
I mean, it's
really.
really hard. It's really
It's
hard to know what to think about it until we see the data, until we see what people do when it does come out. How many people pay the 30?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be really informative of how this might proceed in the future. But it's really hard to know what to think till then.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I really hope this doesn't become a norm. But for a movie like Mulan, where looking at the last few reboots, outside of Aladdin's moderate success, most of the other live actions have had low to moderate standards. So I don't think there's any. I think for this, as a one-off, I think it's perfect. But if they start doing MCU on there, unfortunately, with no internet, I'd be left out of there. So I would be in the 1% of the world that can access it, and I would feel Disney's dripping anybody that can't get internet.
Yeah, I think like the reason why they're doing this is that they're like, hey, let's see how people react to this, and uh, I of all the live action remakes, it was Mulan was like one like because there have been so many by now. Like we had Lion King, Aladdin, Jungle Book, Beauty and the Beast, and like
Cinderella.
Cinderella. Like all of these, I don't think I liked a single one except for Aladdin was amusing. I liked Aladdin, but like it wasn't. I can definitely say without doubt, none of them were better than the originals. The only live action.
Maleficent was at least very different. It
Well,
was different enough to be interesting.
well, there are two Cinderellas. There's the Cinderella movie, and then there's the Maleficent movie, right?
Well, that's Sleeping Beauty, though.
Oh, my bad. I mixed them up. So, Sleeping Beauty, the Maleficent, is actually really good. I actually really like that movie. And I think it was a smart thing to do. And so the only reason why Mulan intrigued me the most was because I thought Mulan had the potential to be kind of like Maleficent, and the fact that it was changing what we knew to such an extreme event. There's no dragon. There's no singing. It's a gritty war movie with, if from what I've heard, proper Asian representation that has all this really cool. Like it doesn't even have the Huns. Like it's a new villain. Like this is a very different
It's a
movie.
sorceress.
It's a sorceress. Like so like I'm going in. I was going to go into this with like the mindset of Maleficent. Do you guys know what I'm saying? You guys agree, or were you guys like, nah, this just was another live action reboot?
I can't
I
say I
mean,
disagree, but there is a very valid point where taking it to changing it's nice, and that actually helps a lot of a case. Not
Mm-hmm.
make it feel like the same old. But then we get into the same valid boat of you got to get into another remake no matter what. They're just coloring a different paint. I'm just glad for the Asian representation, but I'm still kind of on the fence about the villain change and the wuxia elements.
Mm-hmm. John?
I actually forgot the question.
Do you guys kind of think Mulan has like is a actual justification for a live action remake, kind of like Maleficent, or do you think it's just another cash grab? Is basically the question.
I mean, there's definitely a cash grab, but even if they have like competent creators making something different with it, and they're taking a well-known title and doing something with it. But I think it has the potential to be a good movie. I don't know without seeing it. I mean, I definitely was saddened to hear that like Mushu and Shang weren't going to be a part of the story. But I don't know. It definitely has the potential to be like a really interesting war movie. So I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think it's probably both.
Okay. Well, I think that in the end, Mulan is going to be an interesting case, and I think we'll probably talk about it when it comes out onto the thing. when it comes out on Disney Plus. I'm sure my family will buy it and I'll watch it, and then I'll probably just talk about how it wasn't worth the money. So, any last thoughts on Mulan, guys?
Not really.
No? John?
Let's get down to business.
Alright, now let's get to the real heartbreaking news of the day. The real shocker. The one that everyone is sad about. Avatar The Last Airbender, the live action TV series on Netflix, has had some really, really bad news. And the news is that the writers of the original series, they are basically treated like gods almost in this like world, right? Like these two, if any Avatar project wants to be good, these two basically have to endorse it. They got pushed out of the live action movie, which was garbage, and not all of them were involved with Korra, which had some controversies. And then now we heard about this Netflix live action remake, which was supposed to have two of them in there, and instead it didn't. And now they are leaving the series off of creative differences. I love that excuse. So let's start off with it. Matt, how are you taking this news?
I figured this would happen. And I hate to be the pessimist on this, but when I heard that they were part of the main overall team, I was like, okay, cool. But then I realized it's Netflix, and Netflix tends to change materials. Everything can't transfer over. That's a well-given fact. So that's not the thing that's going to get me. What gets me is the fact that not only are they both leaving because of creative differences, but it means that Netflix overstepped their hand and caused not only the two main heads to do it, but man, it's devastating because that could have been one of the best live action series ever, and they screwed it up.
Yeah. Like it just kind of like I guess I should have seen this coming. But and this is stupid of me, but I honestly thought Netflix was smart enough to realize that if they want this to work, they needed these guys' endorsements. The last live action thing that involved Avatar is is not good. It,
It
it
was a
is
masterpiece.
I will kick you off this call right now. It was not good, all right? And it truly astounds me that they would do this. Like it truly is just it's just a oh my god. Okay, John, what do you think? I know you're not a huge
Well,
Avatar watcher, but what do you think of this?
it definitely doesn't bode well. I mean, anytime you have like some of the main creators of a popular material transfer over to like another medium, such as live action, and then have creative differences, you get the sense that like there's a general trust of the creators that the rest of the creators of a show haven't been established yet. You want people who were there from the start and know the material the best. It's
Mm-hmm.
like when they kicked George R. Lucas off and didn't listen to his ideas. What happened? The sequel trilogy was garbage, or not garbage, but not the last one was garbage. The last movie was
We're
garbage.
not
The
talking
rest
about
of the
Star Wars. We
trilogy.
are going to go on
Sorry,
Star
sorry.
Wars
I went off
video.
a tangent. But when you take my general point is when you take the main creators of a series or a franchise off, it just ends in disaster. When Dan Weiss went off of George R. R. Martin's material, quality declines. So it's the same thing. So I have a feeling that the series is going to suffer greatly because of this. It's probably not going to live up to the expectations of the cartoon or the anime. Sorry, and yeah, so we'll see what happens, but
Hmm.
it's definitely bad news for Netflix. It makes them look bad. So
Yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest thing is that it makes them look really bad with like the whole community because like I think like people were like, all right, I'm into this because of the creators. Because Mike is on this, I am on board. But now that they aren't, I feel like people are just going into this with way more skepticism. Like I actually feel like it's worse. Like, and Matt, let me know if you agree with this. I think it's actually worse that they got them on board and then they left in the middle of the project than to just have said they aren't involved at all. Like, I feel like that bodes really bad because now we know that they don't approve, right?
Yeah, it means that with creative differences, it means that not only did one of both parties not like what they're doing, but it means that Netflix wasn't able to compromise with them. Granted, it's a two-way street. Is it bad on both parties? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But on that own embodiment of it all, I have a feeling that Netflix wasn't willing to budge because budgeting constraints. Of course, you have to have so much money to do something of this caliber, but it's just not a very good sign at all. In any case, Avatar or not, it'd be a bad case on any big project. Hell, even with the Chronicles of Narnia, if the Lewis Foundation decided, hey, we don't like what you're doing with our family members' project, so we're going to leave, then that just causes the same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really troublesome with the whole thing. Yeah, like I'm just because in their like little they made a little like statement of when they left and they said that like they tried to accept any idea they thought was like that was like respectful to the Avatar world. They said that they didn't try to just like impose their vision onto it. That anything that they thought helped the Avatar world, uh, they were open to, and that they just felt like that wasn't being spoken for. But they said that a lot of people that they hired for the project are still there, and they have faith still in the project. So, do you think the show still has potential to be good, or you think we're looking at another M Night Shyamalan disaster?
It's got possibilities. Within that realm of it, if the staffing or the actors and everything, if actors were on there for the creator's purpose and they didn't leave because they still agreed with what they're doing, then that's one thing. But the fact that most of them are on there and the fact that the creators are the only ones to really step off means it's got possibilities. It's just a lower percentile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to be Shyamalan level bad. I mean, I hope not. I mean, that's pretty stinking bad right there. Um, but yeah, like Matt said, it has a lower percentage of being good or as good as we had hoped it to be with the creators there. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, like even though this is news that upsets me, and like I don't think it's going to be as good. Even in my worst case scenario, I'm not thinking Shyamalan bad.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets to that bad, then I'll just and that's you know.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Well, I think another thing to consider with this, and it's unlikely, but this isn't a movie. You know, this is a TV show that is going to span multiple seasons. So, do you guys think that it's possible they could come back over time? I mean, like
Yeah.
I think for
if the show lasts like 7 seasons, you know.
it's not an immediate.
Possible.
It's very possible that they would come back over time, seeing if the project flows with them well. I guess is the term, though I'm probably not using it right. But I would say at the very least, cautiously optimistic is what they're going to be at until either A, the viewing ships are really good or really bad. Then they can probably discuss with Netflix, hey, we made a mistake. We want to come back in, but we want to make sure that we're not imposing on you too much. At that point, then I think it would be fine.
Mm-hmm. What about you, John?
it's definitely possible. If the first season does well, then I can see them coming on the second or even the third season or even the second season. But it has to. I don't think they're gonna come onto a train wreck and try and save it. I think they left because they know it has problems with it, and if those problems cost the show the audience, then I don't think they're gonna come and try and save them. But if it does well, then I think they'll try and come back and try and help build this world in live action.
Well,
So
my thought, and you guys let me know if you disagree. My thought is that if this does well, Netflix isn't really gonna want them because like, why would you need them if your show's already doing really good? But my thought was that if they didn't want that, then maybe if the show was doing bad, that they would approach the writers to help fix it. Do you think that's a possibility? Or you think nah, it's the same.
It's a
I'm
possibility,
thinking
but I don't think they'd be nothing more than consultants on the project.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is just me because, like, I personally am petty and I'm just projecting it. But if I left the project of something I created because they weren't doing it the way I felt it needed to be done, and then it crashed and burned, and they came to like help me put out the fire, I'd be like, you started it. If your whole house burns down, that's on you. Um, so that's how I mean, if I that's why I think so. I think that's kind of what they would do too.
Hmm.
But if it does well, is I think you made raise a good point. Would Netflix even want them? And I'd still say probably so, just due to the fact that it'd be good pub, pub, publicity to have them reconcile because that just makes fans happy to hear they're back, even if the show already does well. So I don't think they'll have like a main creative role at that point, but be like consultants or like partial writers. I can definitely see that happening second season, third, if it continues on and they want back on.
All right. Well, yeah, pretty disappointing news. I'm sad about it. That's for sure. Definitely don't really have any faith in it very much now. Like, I'll probably still watch it, and I'll probably still won't like it. So yep, Avatar. Kind of concerned about that. But now we have a new rumor that has hit the internet with a smack real hard in the face with a club, and that is the new Moon Knight casting rumor. Now, there was a rumor a few weeks ago or months ago that it may be Daniel Radcliffe, but he has put that to rest, saying that he is not coming back. And so that has left the world wondering, well, who could play this iconic character? Who could play Moon Knight, this awesome Marvel character? Well, I bet a name that came up that you guys didn't expect. Shia LaBeouf has been the recent rumor from a source within Marvel. And I do not know what to think about this, especially after rewatching some of the Transformer movies. I am just kind of left scarred from the second one. So let's just start it off with John. What do you think about Shia LaBeouf as Moon Knight?
I mean, he's been in some pretty decent movies post Transformers. To think about Peanut Butter Falcon, Fury, he's won quite a few awards. And like he's moved past like the whole bag overhead, I'm not famous weirdness for the most part. So like I definitely
Mm-hmm.
think, and he was even the movie that just came out, The Tax Collector, where he plays a like part of like a gang member. He's doing interesting things, and he's
Mm-hmm.
seems to be progressing as an actor. So I don't see anything inherently wrong with the casting. I think he could do a good job with
Yeah.
actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf playing a psychotic person, or a person with multi personality disorder. I can see, just considering how crazy his real life has been, playing a crazy person. I think that can fit well.
So I think Shia LaBeouf is an interesting actor. Transformers is a badly written movie, generally made for the explosions and giant robots, not the human emotions of it all.
Mhm.
But he wouldn't be my first pick in it all.
Mhm.
But he's an interesting casting if this is true.
Mhm. I think one thing has kind of settled on me is that like he's not the worst option. Like I'm not a fan of it too much, but like there are worse people who could do this. He is older now, so I think him being a little older than he was like in Transformer movies, he is older than in Holes and in the Transformer movies, so he does fit the aesthetic I think a little more. Uh, is there like anyone you guys would like better for the role? Any thoughts that come to mind?
I had a few actors in mind. One of them being, I think, Timothy Olyphant. He hasn't done a whole lot with his movie career. He's been in a few villains. He's been in a few westerns. He's had done a few shows, but he plays a really good dynamic of multiple characters. He hasn't really done one outright change, but he's also much older at this point from when I last saw him. So I'm not sure if him being in his 50s, late 40s, almost 50s, would alter their idea for casting. But he'd be one of my top ones just because of his range.
Any thoughts, John? Any actor choices on that?
Uh, well, if Jake Gyllenhaal hadn't already been played a role, I think he could do interesting with with Moon Knight. I mean, if you see him in Nightcrawler, he knows how to play like a really like he has a pretty diverse range. So like I think that movie makes me think he could probably pull Moon Knight. As far as like another actor that's possible, I can't really think of too many actors that I think, oh, this person can easily play a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a unique thing. So like I can't think of anything off the bat right now. But
Feasibly speaking, he's already done this before, but James McAvoy does a really good job of playing multiple characters.
oh,
But that's just playing off of him in Split, which he was phenomenal in.
Yeah, true. I think there are. I like both of those options actually. It's like I never really thought of Jake Gyllenhaal before, so that is an interesting choice. I'm on one of the websites I saw. They said that they thought Brett Dalton, who played the in the Agents of Shield TV show. I don't know if you guys watched that. He was like one of the Hydra agents on there. He was someone
Was
who
he
they could.
Ward?
Huh?
Was he Agent Ward?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
yeah. He was Agent Ward in that one. Uh, Rami Malek, which I don't know him in a lot of things, but I've heard he's pretty popular. He was in Mr.
Oh,
Robot.
he's a doc. You're Mr. Robot.
Hmm
He
And
also played Bohemian Rhapsody. He played the lead Freddie Mercury.
hmm and then Austin.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So he actually has like potential, I think. But I feel like
I can see that.
he's a little. I always thought of Moon Knight being more as like late 30s. Matt, do you know how old he actually is, Moon Knight?
He's got a family, so he's in his 30s, 40s
Yeah.
in his most recent run. But in his original startup, he was in his late 20s, almost 30s.
The last one I
But
had.
I think Rami Malek's probably in like late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, he just looked a little young.
Fair enough.
Sorry, what'd you say, Matt?
I was saying that it kind of changes, but in the last series that was released of Moon Knight, he had a family and he seemed to be in his 30s, maybe mid range, but he wasn't very, he was kind of close to 40s, but he was still physically that 30, 35-year-old man that just knew how to fight. Like Frank Castle style, but no guns.
Yeah. Uh, Uh, Oscar Isaac. Uh,
No,
I
I
just,
respect him. I respect him, but I think he's got more roles to play than just a Disney Plus rated R show.
all right, some of these names that they're suggesting, Keanu Reeves. I don't know. I- he deserves better than
Bryan
that.
Cranston.
Uh,
Yes,
Oliver Jackson Cohen. Actually, it's a potential one. I kind of like that.
I don't know who that is.
He was in the uh the haunting of Hill House. He was in that movie. So
which
I don't think I saw that one.
Haunted. I never saw that. Is that the TV show or the movie?
I think it was the movie.
Netflix. So it was the remake of the old
Y-
Vincent Price.
Yes, I think so.
I think I know who you're talking about.
So I kind of like him. I mean, I as long as the guy is a good actor, I don't really care. Just make the show good.
Good actor and physically fit.
Exactly.
Because Moon Knight is a physically fit dude, and I wouldn't want some flabby Batman looking guy playing a guy that can literally jump from building to building with ease.
This guy's basically crazy Batman, right? We need a good actor for him. Uh,
Robert Pattinson.
do you think there's like a specific reason why they would want Shia LaBeouf, or you guys just think he's just good for the role?
He's just a name on the palette at the moment.
Yeah,
Unless they were to do an interview on him saying why they picked him, I think it's just a name on the ballot.
that makes sense. John?
I mean, he's actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf. Who better than? You're familiar with that meme, right?
Yeah, I am.
No, so
Triple
I, I,
Cannibal
I, I'm
Shia LaBeouf.
I wonder if we'll get copy strike claim for singing that one here. That would be funny, actually.
well, I think we can say it. I just don't think we could like sing it or like sing more than a
I think it would
line
be funny
of
if
it.
we did, though. All right. Well, in the end, Moon Knight, Shia LaBeouf. I don't know. I don't. I I really want Moon Knight because I've been wanting him actually for a while. So I think it'll be good. I hope. Uh, and yeah. Any last thoughts on Moon Knight, guys?
Not really.
This is going to be a very long episode, for I am just combining these two parts into one long part one, part two episode. So that will go live Friday at 12 p.m. So please check it out, everyone. And for the future, we will hope start be doing episodes every other week. So keep an eye for that, and check out the most recent tribute video, everyone, for that. Is there anything you guys want to plug in before we leave today?
Nothing today.
No, I'm good.
All right. I have stuff to plug in. Check out the Gibberish HS YouTube channel where we do stuff like this because we're nerds. And then also check out the Gibberish Discussions podcasts. It is on iTunes, so please check that out. We have all the recent episodes because I am good at my job. Haha! All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it all. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.